Greetings survivors and friends, I'm SHADOWFRAX. Welcome to my weekly Rust update. And how on earth do you top last week's salt-encrusted patch, eh? Well, I suppose you start with a bit of balancing. You see, the changes to building and raiding didn't stop with the shift to being able to place twig and ladders within building blocked zones, and this week, for a start, tool cupboards can now be locked. This means just getting to one isn't enough, and raiders will actually have to destroy and replace it in order to gain full privilege. They're now far more hench too, with the same strength as a wooden door. In addition, the bare naked soil isn't man enough to hold them up anymore, and so as of this patch, they can only be placed on player-made constructions. Secondly, if you have your hammer out and building priv, you can now pick up ladders. Not only that, but this extends to shutters, embrasures, and window bars, which makes upgrading much easier. We've got a new deployable item, the mailbox. It costs 100 wood and 25 frags and can be placed on the ground outside your gaff. Any notes shoved in the flap for you will then go to a secure storage area with 12 slots, which can only be accessed by someone with building privilege. There's also a cool little notification signal that pops up to say when you've got mail. There are obviously a number of applications for this, and it'll be interesting to see what sort of junk mail we start getting through our flaps in the coming weeks. At first, I thought this was the final version of the Dropbox idea from a few weeks ago, but shock horror, I was wrong. That is still being worked on too. Looks like it'll be something that'll fit in a wall frame and enable owners to receive goods from outside without ever having to leave the house. Living the dream. Watch this space for more details. There were some buffs to weapons and armor this week, namely the spear now stabs faster, is more responsive, and has a longer reach, which should make throwing it less of a necessity. The crossbow reloads nearly a second faster now, and an adjustment was made to the sight attachment point, which was a bit squiffy. Also, you'll likely notice that HV arrows have a metal tip now. This is actually a test, and if you've been following my
Johnset Limbo
series, then you'll know all about the different arrow types that we're waiting for. Looks like we will be getting these at some time then. Cool beans. Flamethrowers can now damage AI, so remote barbecuing of our furry friends is definitely on the table, and the riot helmet was found to be using the wrong protection values all this time. It was basically offering the same level of defense as the bucket helmet, which is obviously not what you want, and so now it should block 80% of all melee damage as intended. In addition, the heavy plate helmet was given an extra 10% protection against bullets and arrows. In cost changes, some of the signs are now cheaper, especially the metal ones, which were way too expensive and so have been reduced significantly. Fish traps also now use cloth instead of rope to make, so no excuse not to get your supply of omega-3 anymore. And rifle bodies are not so easy to craft and now require 250 scrap each. There were a number of fixes made this week too. Firstly, a long-standing bug with semi-autos was sorted, which you can read all about on the blog if you really want, but the long and short of it being that the fire rate was adjusted to both make them more responsive and to close a loophole which was being exploited by scripters. Auto turret targeting was tweaked too, so they're now slightly out of phase with each other. This should stop server hiccups caused by them all targeting at the same time, especially as they're now much more in demand. There have been a few problems pointed out with monuments lately, namely bucket lifts not working, missing door animations, and invisible cave segments. These were all related to the recent merge from Unity 5.6, but should now be fixed. You can also place ceiling lights on slopes as of this patch, so no more dark and dingy roof spaces. Graphically, the big blue water jug is now back with a vengeance, has a proper view model, and can be found in food boxes and crates everywhere. They can be filled with up to 3 litres of liquid, used to douse flames and plants in the same way as a bucket, but because they have a lid, can be stored in your inventory without spilling. Also, although they're uncraftable, they can be recycled into 50 frags each. A new shader is in the works, which should make things look more realistic. As always, it's easier to actually show you what sort of difference it'll make, so here you can see the change between old and new. Also, a bug which caused the game to switch to interior lighting mode under certain circumstances, such as when hanging around some of the trees, cliffs, and open sewer systems, has been fixed. Over to works in progress now, and in addition to significant headway being made to the factory part of the new monument, the rocket appears to have made its way onto the launch pad now. Branding and decals need to be added, but you can get the idea from these shot. The rework to the road sign armor is almost there, just waiting on LODs now, but here's how it looks in-game. And finally, a very long time ago now, I'm talking September 2014, the idea of player gestures was first looked into. Yes, I keep all this stuff on file. Nothing really has been heard since, but in this week's blog, lo and behold, it looks like we could soon be expressing ourselves in new and exciting ways. As for how these would be triggered in-game, it'll most likely be through a pie menu, much like the one for building parts. There are a lot of possibilities for this, and the team are open to suggestions for gestures, so please leave me your suggestions down below in the comments section, and I'll try to pass them on. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for weekly updates. Pop over and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and my Steam group, and I shall catch you all soon. But in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.